Hello, 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 and welcome to all my ballerinas and ballerinos, as well as returning viewers, and maybe I even have some newbies out there tonight. I am so blessed that y'all would take your time and tune in, especially for this very special heart to heart tonight. Before I welcome our special guest and you hear her big news, and then we have a heart to heart with her, I want to welcome everybody. Um, Tonight's show is being led by Amy Hoosier Diver. So let me make an announcement. On YouTube, we have moderators and managing moderators. And, some people run their channels in different ways. Some people run them like, they just give friends out wrenches and call them moderators. Other people just choose one or two moderators. There are some people who run it like a board of directors. There's some people who give a wrench to absolutely everybody. What I really wish is that YouTube had something called a producer. That way, if a mod was there just for show or just for friendship, or they were really helping behind the scenes. I have to tell you that my moderators really, really, really help behind the scenes. Like y'all see Danielle Barnes in the chat. She's also sometimes under her Ninja account, which is Queen of Editing. She is the person that came up with the title Heart to Heart with Belle. She also does every single gorgeous thumbnail that looks like a work of art. And I am so blessed to have her. So, what I'm doing with my moderators is I'm letting them help to produce content. So, I've given over this heart to heart show to Amy Hoosier Diver, who's going to work with the guest, who is going to make sure about all the legal stuff we need to announce, who will be working with the themes and the topics. And on my Thursday show, Battle with Belle, the producer of that is going to be Amanda Hurst. And so she'll be booking the guest, helping to prepare them, as well as working with some of the media and the marketing. So I am so blessed to have mods that can help me and that can fill the role of producers. So, my channel may be known for auctions, but it is not just about auctions. We have other shows too, shows that are just fun. And we have shows like Heart to Heart with Belle, which is a great time for community support, for encouragement. It's kind of like one big cyber hug because not everything is always fine and dandy. Sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes there's heartbreak. Sometimes you just need to open your heart and just pour it out. And you need a group of people who will help you and encourage you. And that's what we're here to do tonight. So let me welcome a few other people. I want to welcome Samantha Sessions. I want to welcome Jennifer Hayes. I want to welcome Adopted Retrospecs, who is Kim. Thank y'all ever so much for joining me tonight. Before I bring on my guests, let me make some announcements. Tomorrow, we're going to have a pop-up auction. I let y'all vote on what the theme should be, and 45% of you voted for the theme Scent My Soul. So tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're going to have all kinds of fabulous scented products up for auction. Everything from candles to air freshener to wax melts to perfumes, lotions, shower gels, lip balms, deodorants, and much, much, much more. We will still have Belle's Bargain Bonanza rounds, absolutely, at the beginning and at the end. And at the middle, at the end, we'll have a scratch and dent round. So then I'll see you Thursday for Battle with Belle, and Saturday and Sunday, we will have the auctions. But as a special feature, since I've gotten to 1K, my moderators, who are led by Amy Hoosier Diver, are planning a 1K celebration. It will be Friday night. We're going to have details coming out about it in my YouTube community post. It will be a great time of giveaways, of some fun games, and some musical appearances. So it is not to be missed. They are working hard on this. So you can celebrate with me. You can get some fabulous entertainment, and you may even leave with a giveaway or a prize. How does that sound? So I'd like to ask everybody to click the thumbs up for me. Go ahead and share it out on your YouTube community page or your various other social media. So, without further ado, I say, laissez bon temps rouler. Let the good times roll. And we will begin tonight with a guest that some of y'all may know from Battle with Belle. Let me bring her onto the screen. I think many of y'all have seen Lisa M. She is
Hello.
a married wife and mother in the Great North. She has a beautiful little toddler named Evelyn. And last Monday, while we were interviewing Amy Hoosier Diver and her husband Luis, as they told us about her family leave, where her mother in law and brother in law came from a foreign country and stayed for several long weeks. And they had both the joy and the pressure of packing in all of this time and all of these memories into this visit, along with some funny issues of not speaking the same language and trying to use translator apps. If any of y'all missed that episode, go back and watch. It was a fantastic episode. During that episode, before it started, well, at the very beginning of when it started, Lisa had shared some big news about a medical diagnosis. And I care about everybody and I wanted to talk about it. But when you have a different guest booked, sometimes that's not exactly the right time or place because you want to be respectful to the guest you have on. So I asked Lisa if she would be willing to come and be a guest and talk about it on another night. Because I think many of you may know somebody with a similar medical diagnosis. You may have this medical diagnosis. It's not a rarity. In fact, it is very widespread and it is spreading more and more and more. And we want to talk to Lisa, hear her thoughts and feelings, hear how she's going to bravely move forward in life with this. I do want to warn everybody before this begins that this show is not an endorsement of any products, any medical plans, any doctors, or any medicines. And I am not a doctor. I do not accept, confirm, or endorse any medical diagnoses, treatments, or medications. And everybody should seek their own private or public doctor and medical help from professionals only. So now that I've given that disclaimer, Lisa, tell us what's going on in your life and tell us about your diagnosis and what led you to even see your doctor and have tests.
Okay, so yeah, like you said, this is my story. Not
Yes,
everybody's story is the same. Some people similar but different, you know.
exactly.
Um, to start off with, it runs in my family. I was diagnosed about,
Keep in mind, you have not said what the diagnosis is.
yeah,
So
I
before you tell everybody what the diagnosis is, what symptoms did you have for which you started thinking, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, I should get this checked? I mean, were you sneezing? Were you tired? Were you having memory issues? What? Tell us about some of the diagnosis. Tell us about
right,
some of the symptoms because a lot of times we notice the symptoms as a first indicator and then we decide, oh, if I'm sneezing, I'm coughing, maybe I might should get checked because maybe I have strep throat, maybe I have pneumonia, maybe I have, we have all these thoughts that go through our minds based
right.
on our symptoms. So take us first through the symptoms you had before you went to the doctor and before you ultimately got diagnosed.
Well, but that's the little slightly complicated part, but I'll make it as simple as I can. My husband and I, about a year ago, on the week of my daughter's first birthday, we had the big C word, okay? And
Okay.
it let,
We all know what
it
that
did it.
is. We're not gonna say we're not gonna type it, but we all know what it is related to the quarantine.
Yeah, that thing.
Yes.
We had the big
Mhm.
C word.
Yes.
And um it ran its course, we were fine, whatever. But I came out of it after, because I had my daughter for a year, and I went through
And
that
when you
big
say
whole.
"had
Yeah.
my daughter," did you adopt or give birth?
No, I gave birth to her like a year prior
Okay.
to that,
Right.
and we got the big sickness that was going around, and we we did the course of it. We ended up being fine from it. Well, I started to notice afterwards that my body was different. Excuse me. Um, at the time and even now, I can't really put words to how, but I believe between God and myself, I knew there was something wrong. Um, I couldn't put my finger on it, but it kind of was like I would get lightheaded. I'd kind of feel like my blood sugar level would be low. Um, and I just, you learn your body after years of being yourself. So, I was kept telling my husband Mike, I'm like, there's something wrong. I don't know what it is. And I had went for my yearly checkup, and they like, well, you're overdue for some lab work, and you're whatever it's called. I can't remember for the life of me, but it's basically your blood sugar level. They test your blood sugar level. It was a little high, like 6 months prior to they had tested me, and it was a little high. So I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And I didn't think anything of it. I did the fasting for it. I did everything that I was supposed to do. And I went and got my blood work done. Well, my doctor called me later that day and told me, well, we got your lab work and everything's fine except for you need to lose some weight. I'm heavy set from still having my daughter a little bit, and I'm just thick anyway. Um,
Okay.
but they're like, you're healthy, but you're this thing is just like this such and such a thing on your body, and your body's fine. Like your cholesterol's fine, this and that's fine. They're like, except for you want to lose some weight, and the test came back that that the level was high, that I was basically pre-diabetic. Um, they gave me they left me a message on my phone because I was at work, and they gave me all these medical terms, and it kind of spiraled me into almost an anxiety attack because I couldn't figure out what medical terms they were using, what they meant. But I eventually called them back, and they put it in simple terms that I am basically pre-diabetic. I'm not full blown. However, like I was saying earlier, it does run in my family. It is really bad on my dad's side of the family. So I figured I would at someday in the future get it, but I didn't think now.
Listen, 96 million people aged 18 or older have pre-diabetes, which is about 38% of the entire US population. Amy took the
Wow.
time to look up that fact so that you could see that you are not alone, your dad is not
Right.
alone, that it is a very growing and common problem here in the
Ugh,
US.
yeah. Um, so that's what's going on. I mean, I'm dealing with other stuff right now. But now I'm
Hello,
just like, okay. I'm like at a crossroads of what do I do? I don't know. I've been mulling around my head keto diet. Um, for me, it's like cutting out the sweets because, as you would know, Belle, I have a sweet tooth. So,
I think most people have a sweet tooth. Um, so some people, make the choice to cut out everything that is sweet and delicious and dessert like. Some people
right,
decide that they're going to replace it with chemicals instead. The same way that people will do with like morning coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, but my parents were, and they got to a point where they started trying to replace sugar with other chemicals, and that was a big controversy. Is well, which is worse for you, the natural sugar, which is natural and God given, or these pink, blue, yellow packets that are just filled with dangerous chemicals?
right.
So, and a lot of doctors have very serious questions about people who are replacing sugar with something that may be even more dangerous because it's not natural,
Mm,
with these replacement sweeteners. So, I want
right.
to applaud you for just giving up the desserts and the sweets instead of going the route of these dangerous chemicals. Hi, Kim. Welcome, welcome, and welcome to Mighty Mike. Thank y'all
Well,
so
I have.
much for tuning in. Our guest tonight is Lisa M., and she's talking to us on Heart to Heart about her diagnosis that she received, which is that she is pre diabetic.
Ugh, God, that sounds horrible. But they wanted to put me on a very common pre-diabetic medication to help get it more down and more controllable or whatever. And I was like, no, I take enough pills as it is, and it's not a lot, but I'm not much for to pop pills to begin with. So I was like, no, let's hold off. And so they're giving me 3 months to basically turn it around.
And so, talk to us about your steps of turning it around so that we can support you and help you and even comfort you during this um, journey of yours. I realize it may be scary, it may not be fun, um,
Right.
that it may be worrisome, but since you have the blessing of a husband and daughter, you have so much going in your life to want to be
Yeah.
healthy for.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't want to go right to meds. I want to see if it's just like a lifestyle change because of my daughter. I'm like, I want to try things before I just, in a way, my brain thinks of giving up and going to medication for it because she's still young. She's only two. Well, not even quite two. And I want to be here for her. And if I just have to change my diet
Well, that
to
makes
kind
sense.
of manage it, then yeah.
All the time about dangerous medical interactions. So if you're already on medicines for other things and then you're adding more medicines, it just doubles, triples,
Oh,
quadruples
yeah.
the interactions that could possibly be happening. So in addition to just not wanting to take medicines if there's other options, when you take into account that you have a toddler who's naturally curious in the home and you take into account the other prescription medications that you have to have for whatever other personal issues or situations you have, that even ups the chances of there being some interaction. I've even heard studies where doctors warn patients who are taking medication, don't drink grapefruit juice. Even just drinking a natural juice will make medicines work differently and act differently. So it's amazing how even the most natural things can end up being very dangerous. A lot of times there are these non-medicines, these non-vitamins that people say, oh, it's just a natural remedy, and yet they are very often recalled and found to be dangerous. So, talk to us about the steps that you're taking as far as your natural remedies.
Well, right now, I'm trying to cut back on the sugar intake. The doctor said and I kind of already know this because of it being running in the family, that it's all about not so much carbs, not so much sugar, that the carbs turn into sugar and then the sugar affects your body. And so now, I mean, I kind of don't eat particularly like bread a whole lot or pasta a whole lot.
Okay.
I mean,
Are
I
you
eat it,
giving
but
up
I
starchy
don't.
foods like potatoes?
Right, that's the other one I gotta still kind of cut out. But surprisingly, diabetics can have sweet potatoes, so there's that.
Yum, yum, yum.
Um,
I love sweet
yeah,
potato.
there's other health issues that run in the family that kind of like, okay, if I cut out this and cut out that, what am I left with? And that's the issue I'm having right now, is figuring out long term what I can do now to help the whole long term thing. And um I mean, I work part time, so I'm on my feet about 24 hours a week working in a deli, running back and forth, doing prep work and whatever, so I'm fairly
Gives you some good
busy.
exercise. Good
Yeah,
exercise while earning some extra dollars to contribute to your family's future.
yeah,
Amy, who's a diver, has shared another statistic with us because I had asked her to look up some statistics so that we could better understand what's going on in our nation as a community. And you can see from the screen that it says 26.4 million people who are age 65 or
yeah,
over have pre-diabetes. So it's not just something for young moms like Lisa. Um,
yeah,
Elderly people are also facing this, and
yeah,
that's about 48.8 percentage of the US population. Another question I wanted to ask you, since you had mentioned that about being a mom, I know that there's also a gestational type of
yeah.
diabetes. Did you also have that? Were you diagnosed with that? Was that part of your issue, or did you somehow escape that?
Kind of funny there.
Was it?
My One of my coworkers asked me the same question, and you're right. There is a diabetes, gestational diabetes. It's women only, and it's for women that are pregnant. They can develop diabetes during pregnancy.
Right.
And usually, the way I was explained to that one was that after you give birth, uh, basically the diabetes goes away because it's just a pregnancy thing. Me, I didn't have it. I went 36, 37 weeks in my pregnancy before she was born. She was born a couple weeks early from my due date with her, and I never had gestational diabetes.
Okay.
I think that's actually, in my head, I'm like, that's when they tested me, and it was a little high then. And now but they said it was 6 months ago that they did it. And I'm like, I don't remember getting poked with a needle 6 months ago. Oh,
Interesting.
I don't.
If there's anybody in the chat who has questions for Lisa, who has advice, who has comfort, we'd love to hear from you. We're also going to drop the link in case anybody else has a similar experience to share or some words of wisdom. We're a community, and sometimes hearing somebody else's story or seeing what they've been through, how they've gotten through a similar situation is a great way to encourage.
Um, my grandmother, um, she's with God now. She has been for a while. When she was alive, she had diabetes, and my dad does. Several other people in my family on that side do have it. They're full blown diabetic. They're not pre. I am pre, so I'm trying to be more proactive, which is kind of hard when you have a toddler, even though that sounds kind of ridiculous. It's kind of hard to be proactive about yourself when you have a toddler. And that's
Well, mothers
actually,
put their babies first.
yeah, that's actually, you really want to get heart to heart. Here you go. That's something I'm struggling with is relearning to take care of myself so I can take care of my daughter. That my daughter can't take care of herself, so I have to take care of me to take care of her.
Right. It
And
reminds me of that situation on the plane where when you're flying on a plane and you get into turbulence or an engine goes out or you're making a crash landing, the way it works is they drop the masks and they always tell the mothers to put on their own mask first before they put the mask of their child on.
I couldn't even imagine being in that position. Oh man.
Well, it's part
But
of the whole spiel and explanation that the
yeah,
stewards and stewardesses explain every time about the mask. Spoiler alert, I've never been in that situation either. I've been in turbulence, but never so bad that the
yeah,
mask dropped. But it's one of those things that they tell people just to remind others that the caregiver, whether it's a caregiver to a child, the caregiver to somebody elderly, or even a caregiver to somebody who is mentally challenged, that you have to put your own mask on first before you can help somebody else. Because if you
yeah,
pass out first, then you can't help anybody else.
yeah. I mean, it's something that we all know to do, but after having a child, some things go out the door of like not common sense, but just stuff like that of like, oh, I need to take care of myself, take care of her. You get busy taking care of the child so much that you kind of neglect yourself, and that's where I'm learning with this whole diabetes thing is that okay, I'm going to eat the fruits and vegetables more instead of eating these high carb foods or these high sugar foods like candy, even though I love candy.
Well, and there's a lot of fruits and vegetables that are still really sweet and
Yeah.
delicious. So the more that you start to pass on the candy, the sweeter apples and berries will start to seem.
So that's where I'm at with it is learning how to take care of myself properly to take care of her and um up until recently up here in Michigan, it hasn't been that warm to go out for a walk or go really do anything for too long of a time. The last couple days it's been pretty nice here. Yesterday and today it was about 60 degrees, which is warm for us up here this time of year. Um, we're not getting the rain, which is nice. The snow is melting, and I can actually be able to take Evie for a walk.
Lovely.
And I live closer to town, so I can kind of, walk to the local grocery store or the um, local. No, it's not really local. It's a chain of them, but the Dollar Tree is only about like a mile away, so I can walk there. But
Nice.
finally, so when I'm not working, that's my plan is to take her for walks or like, try to get some more exercise in. But
Well, that
For me,
sounds
it's
like it's gonna be a win-win because then you're an example of a mommy taking care of herself, a mommy that's going to take her on exercise adventures for her own health, as well as a way to keep yourself healthy as well, and saving the environment from using all of those extra fossil fuels by just driving instead.
right. I've told my husband I'm doing this for Evie and for my health, but Evie, or Evelyn as we all know her as, she's my big motivator because I do want to be a good example. I want to be there for her and not have to be on insulin or um pills.
Right.
So
So how are you feeling now?
right now,
Well, I mean, you've had what has it been, a week and a half since the diagnosis? You've had a little time to think about it, to start working on a plan, start formulating the changes that you wanted to make. And, sometimes at first we get mad or we get sad or we get
right,
frustrated. We go through different emotions on the road to acceptance. Nobody hears a diagnosis and says, okay, fine, you're like, no, I can't believe this, or why me, or oh,
right,
yeah, it's something else to deal with. We go through a chain of emotions until we finally, get on a plan. And so I wanted to ask you where you are mentally and emotionally with this. And then I'll ask you the same question about physically, because, there are people who step on the
right,
scale every single day. There are people who some days you're filled with energy and other days you're just dragging along. But before we talk about how you're feeling physically, let's talk about how you're feeling emotionally about this situation, because this show is to bear the burdens of others, as mentioned in Galatians 6, and to support each other and encourage and sometimes comfort each other. And these kind of a diagnosis can be difficult, even if we think, well, it might happen to me someday, or someday I might get diagnosed. We
right,
all think those things based on our parents. I mean, my mother had three different types of arthritis. So anytime my hands are stiff or hard to move, I think, I wonder if I'm getting one of those types of arthritis. Or on both sides of my family were heart issues. So anytime
mm,
my chest hurts or is stiff,
yeah,
or I get really upset about something and I feel those pains, I wonder, oh no, is it like gran? Is it like mother? Is it like
I'm
daddy? Or anytime I get a spot on my skin because my grandfather had melanoma, I think, oh, wait, am I getting skin cancer
right,
like he had? Also, my dad on his side also had it, and my sister even had to have one
hmm,
chunk removed. And when you watch your loved ones get chunk after chunk after chunk of skin and flesh removed, you start wondering, well, when is it going to be my time? So I
right,
understand that there are real fears, even before a malady, even before a diagnosis, sometimes wondering when, if it's going to be you, can be a whole different type of torture.
right. It's funny you mentioned that thing about heart disease because I wasn't gonna really bring it up, but that's one of the other things that runs on my dad's side of the family. So I since I was a teenager and learned how to cook, I've learned how to cook without salt, so it doesn't really affect my body like it would. And I've already tried to keep myself healthy that way, but then now with this diagnosis, I'm like, oh great. Another thing that, I not that I can't have it, but I shouldn't. And that's also where my mindset is now is like when I first got it, I'm like, oh, I can't eat candy anymore. I can't have such and such a thing. And I'm now like, well, it's not that I can't, I shouldn't, or I should have very little. And
Are you having to think about food in a different way? Because,
yeah,
some people, and this is a saying we talk about New Orleans all the time, some people live to eat and some people eat to live.
Yeah.
So, therefore, there are people who eat just because their stomach's rumbling, they're hungry, they're getting tired, so they eat
Right.
to fuel their body. And there are other people who are bored, so they think they're going to cook something, or they think they're going
Yeah.
to eat something. Or other people who, are using food as a way to not smoke or not drink or not, engage in other dangerous behaviors. So,
Right.
tell us about your relationship with food.
Well, I think more or less in the last few years I have been more of eating to eat sort of thing. Like, oh, this feels good to eat, so I'm gonna eat, and that's okay to a certain point, but it also isn't, and
So,
that's where
eating
I'm
has
kind of
become entertainment, it's become fun, it's become a reward.
right. Now I'm just like trying to retrain myself in a way that okay, yeah, you can eat candy, but no, because candy will be really bad for you and it'll create problems versus like okay, I've looked at food differently because of it of where instead of getting something with a lot of carbs or sodium and this and that in it, I tend to like at work I'll get a salad instead of something else that would be worse. My like I've said, my main motivation is my daughter because life is precious. So I look at it that way, and I try not to look at it like, oh great, I can't have that cookie, like maybe next time on the cookie, kind of thing. And
Amy Hoosier
I,
Diver is sharing another statistic with us, which is that 37.3 million people in the United States have diabetes, which is 11.3% of the population. Well, let me ask you this, Lisa, since you've said that you've identified that to a certain extent that food is part of your reward, it's part of your fun, it's part of your entertainment. Have you
yeah,
found other ways to get that um, fun and entertainment for yourself in ways that aren't going to jeopardize your health? I've heard of people who have ditched the chocolate or ditched the sugar and instead made themselves feel good with a new hairstyle or with
yeah,
trying out new makeup techniques, trying on clothes, with art projects, with, other things that made them feel pretty or made them have some fun. Some people enjoy puzzles. Some people enjoy word puzzles because the triumph of actually finishing the, instead of a sugar high, you're getting that high of accomplishment.
well, no, I haven't, but I
Well, maybe
um
that's another step on your journey then. So,
right.
after all, it's not a one and done. This is going to be a lifetime change in order to go forward with your plan of natural remedies. So, in retraining your brain that food is just fuel, that it's not entertainment, that it's not fun, that it doesn't have to taste good, it doesn't have to taste sweet,
um
it doesn't have to be
yeah,
flavorful, because the better it tastes, the harder it is to avoid. Sometimes
yeah.
when food is only bland and yucky, it helps you not want it. It reminds me of Big Brother. I don't know if anybody out there watches Big Brother, but they have this food called slop, which I think is kind of oatmeal ish. Um, and therefore they purposely make it where it's not a great texture, it doesn't have good taste, it will give them all of the nutrition they need in order to still be healthy, but it's not fun to eat and it doesn't taste good.
um I was gonna say at first my mindset has changed a little bit. You were asking about my whole mindset
Right.
about it. Um at first when they said I was just pre-diabetic, at first I was like, woo, because of how they left the voicemail to me. When they left the voicemail, they made it sound really horrible and that I was full-blown diabetic and I couldn't really do anything about it, whatever. So when they said I was pre-diabetic, I was like, oh, thank God it's just pre. And then I was like, wait,
That's serious too.
yeah, that's serious too. But then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not old. I had this concept in my head for the longest time that
You thought you had
old
to be
people,
old?
yeah, like old people get diabetic, and it's just because how in my family it was later in life when they got diabetic. Like my dad was in his 50s when he became diabetic. I don't know with my grandma,
Well, I hate
um,
to tell you, there are a lot of
but
children with
yeah, and
diabetes.
yeah, then I was like, well, there's babies born diabetic
Well,
and
multiple
children with
types of
diabetes.
diabetes as well. So it
So it's like, okay, that's just the stupid mindset that I had, like,
So
and
we
now
do
I'm like,
want to
okay,
warn viewers, there are multiple types of diabetes. We're not going to, list them. We're not going to go through them because this is not a medical show. But just for viewers to know, all diabetes are not the same. They don't work the
exactly.
same. And there are even some very serious that cannot be controlled with
Yeah.
just diet. So
Yeah,
we
that's just like
recommend
just
that you
my
seek
story, my
medical
mindset on
professional
it.
or advice. Right.
My grandma, she had it full blown. She had to have uh things removed without getting too gross.
Right.
Um, she had it full blown. My dad, he's not near that. He's where he tests once a day and he takes a pill. I don't know the name of the pill. I really don't.
We're not going to say the
Which it
names of
doesn't matter.
medicine.
Yeah, and uh, I don't even want to be on the whatever pill for pre-diabetes. I'm like, less pills, the better. Less
Great.
chemicals, the better.
Great.
And that's just how I live my life. So I'm trying to be more proactive about my health and getting under control. I've been wanting to lose weight since even before I got pregnant with my daughter, I wanted to lose a little bit of weight.
Okay.
Um, I was trying to lose weight when I actually found out I was pregnant. So then I was like, okay, we'll just go down this road, this little ride for a while, and I had her, and I'm like, okay, now I got more to lose, and
Well, keep
so
in mind, Lisa, that the average American woman is a size 14. A lot of people, especially guys, seem to have this wrong theory that women are single digit sizes. Because we see these women on magazines and they're like a size zero or double zero.
yeah.
Models wear these sample sizes, and a sample size is a two. So, therefore, many times guys have the wrong ideas about
Hmm.
women's sizing, and they don't realize that the average American woman is a size 14.
Hmm. It's actually good to know, but I was going to say the only place I'm a size 2 is at Torrid.
That's funny. Super funny.
That's the only place I can get into a 2 is at Torrid.
Okay. Well,
But
the women
um
who are watching, I'm sure, are laughing at that great joke. And Tord has
yeah.
some lovely, lovely, lovely clothes. Well, it looks
um,
like our numbers are falling off a little bit, but it was a pleasure getting to hear your story and getting to laugh. It's always great to end on a laugh, but thank you ever so
right.
much for being so vulnerable as to share your story with us, your experience with us, and your diagnosis with us tonight, and having this heart to heart with us.
I just want to say real quick, for everybody, that picture that I have up is me and my daughter about 2 weeks ago.
Aw.
Yep. So that's what she looks like, and that's what I look like.
Well, and sometimes
Um,
we get to see you on Battle with Belle on
yeah.
Thursdays. And I hope you'll be joining us this Thursday. And I also hope that everybody who is watching had a chance to watch my video that I released this morning. It was a dumpster dive haul. And after the show, I'm going to film another dumpster diving haul. And we'll see if y'all start enjoying these hauls. It also gives you a little bit of a preview of some things that I might be selling at the auction on Saturday and Sunday. But tomorrow afternoon's auction is all scented items. So I hope to see
Ooh.
you all tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And as I always say, laissez bon temps.